Ripple XRP, we have the CEO Brad Garlinghouse calling out Gary Gensler and also the SEC in regards to the regulatory framework. And these are some interviews that actually happened just recently at Davos 2024. We also have some other news in relation to the Reserve Bank of New Zealand and how there can be connections with Ripple XRP. And we could potentially be seeing a collaboration between Ripple and Hadera. And of course, I will be looking at the price action today for XRP coin. All I ask from you are two things, which is to smash that like button and to subscribe to the channel as well. And so I thought that I'd first show you guys this recent interview that we had from Brad Garlinghouse. Now we know already on his X page he has expressed that Gary Gensler is a political liability, which is true. And I mean, in terms of his personal intentions and what Gary Gensler has caused, it has been an absolute sham in the cryptocurrency space, and he is still not yet held accountable for his actions, which, to be honest with you, I do find very mind-boggling. So let's first take a look at this.
The technology. Now, recently you called the Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Gary Gensler a, quote, political liability to the United States. You said he's acting in the interests of citizenry or the long-term growth of the economy, that he's not acting on behalf of customers and users. Tell us more.
Well, look, I think Gary Gensler has prioritized hiring more lawyers to litigate the industry. And this is often described as, or kind of regulation through enforcement. If we just took the time to codify rules of the road, most of the industry in crypto wants to follow the rules of the road. Countries around the world have leaned in. Even the European Union, 27 countries in the European Union have come together to create a construct for how crypto should be regulated. In the United States, we haven't done this work. I jokingly suggested maybe what we should just do is type into ChatGPT, how should the U.S. That's more than the U.S. SEC has done, and it's frustrating. And I think even, I guess, yesterday there was a court hearing between Coinbase and the SEC, and the judicial system continues to slap down the SEC because they're overreaching. They're overstepping what the laws say. It's the reason why they lost the case against Ripple. It's the reason why they lost the case against Grayscale. It's the reason why they were dragged kicking and screaming to have an ETF. Thus, as I was quoted, I think Gary Gensler hasn't been acting. He's been acting on almost his own agenda, not the people's agenda in the United States.
And again, as he has mentioned over here, in terms of Grayscale, they actually won that against the SEC. Of course, Ripple are now 3-0 against the SEC. And with the spot Bitcoin ETFs, guys, it should have been a pretty much easier approval, but we essentially saw them drag that out for so long. And in the end, Gary Gensler still essentially said that you should be wise when it comes to investing money in cryptocurrencies, and that you should be taking your time in terms of investing into Bitcoin ETFs. But it still seems like as if he is not on board with those ETFs, and it was all pretty much forced. And again, how many times do the CEOs of these crypto companies have to say that they are willing to abide by the laws and follow these certain regulations, but we are still not yet seeing anything coming out from the SEC. And I believe that if the SEC literally just provided regulatory clarity for the industry years ago, we would have actually been able to be on board by now and everything would be running smoothly. But we are still lagging and we are still pretty much behind in terms of that regulatory framework. And Brad also does talk about this as well in this interview that we had at Davos.
Cool stuff going on that's nascent around real utility use cases is happening outside the United States, in places like Hong Kong or Singapore or Dubai, where there is clear regulatory frameworks. Most of the people who work in crypto want to follow the rules. There have to be clear rules. We talk a lot about the U.S. regulatory environment for good reasons, but I think sometimes we don't talk enough about all of the constructive stuff going on outside the U.S., including Thailand.
And as he has mentioned over here, we are seeing other players that are, of course, at the forefront when it comes to the regulatory framework. So your players like Hong Kong, Singapore and Dubai. And we all know that Ripple have actually been granted a VASP, which is a virtual asset provider license. And I believe that Ireland have also granted this to Ripple as well just recently, probably a couple of weeks ago. And so we are seeing more countries outside of the US essentially favor Ripple XRP, which just goes to show how behind the US actually are. And even in relation to CBDCs as well, we are seeing so much significant interest in the Asia region, so for example like Hong Kong and China, and that they are essentially going to be on board with this new technology. And there have been some talks with Ripple and these other countries as well and governments. And so again, this is just something that we need to be tackling in the industry. Now it seems like as if Max Walker Williams did actually have an interview with Brad Garlinghouse and Lehman Bird. Now as you can see, we have Ripple and we have Hadera. I'm just going to show you this short clip of these two, and obviously it's not the full video, but it's just a little bit of the behind the scenes footage.
This is another place where tribalism is not helpful to us. Right. And so if we can work together, Algorand just mentioned that they're going to work on this, we're going to work on this,
and we're going to make sure we start to talk about whether we can collaborate as well. So it's going to,
Oh, wow, fantastic.
possibly.
That's
And we're going to talk about how we can collaborate with the things you were talking about for scam identification and dealing with it. I think that we can work together in a lot of ways as an industry.
And as a retail holder, it's always good to see these types of things happening. Again, two very big players with very good technology and very good ideas as well are now going to be collaborating together. They're very much open-minded, and it goes to show that this is not competition in the cryptocurrency space, but rather actually joining forces to help the crypto space. And that is essentially how both Ripple and Hadera can prosper. They don't need to be competing with each other because their technologies stand out. And not only are they speaking on it, but they've actually done something about it. I mean, we know that Hadera are now collaborating with Algorand in terms of the Decentralized Recovery Alliance, and so that has already happened. They're not just saying it for the purpose of saying it, and so I believe that we will be seeing something with Hadera and Ripple coming soon. So we have the Reserve Bank of New Zealand has been discussing Ripple and XRP in the context of the future of money and CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies. As we know, when it comes to Ripple, there have been in talks with a couple of dozen governments when it comes to the CBDCs. I mean, we do know that the Asia regions are also looking forward to CBDCs, and Ripple announced a private version of the XRP ledger, which is of interest to central banks for its potential application in CBDCs. And it seems like as if that they are pretty much in the beginning stages now to look at the benefits of this, and that they do actually have an interest. And you'll see over here we actually have this letter as well of the future of money and Ripple, and showing that Ripple is thanking the Reserve Bank of New Zealand for the in-depth and comprehensive analysis that has been undertaken in the CBDC issues paper. And it goes to show that this is exactly what is happening behind the scenes that not many people might see. And they say over here that we believe that private sector solutions such as the use of a neutral bridge asset like XRP could have an important role to play in supporting healthy liquidity markets that allow for frictionless and cost-effective value movement between new forms of digital money in real time. And we have that main important factor over here being liquidity, and also with the cross-border payments we need it to be real time, and we also need it to be relatively inexpensive, and so of course to be cheap. And Ripple has that ability in order to be that bridge currency. So for XRP coin, we are currently trading at 0.5423. We are down by 3.61% on the one-day chart. For the 24-hour volume, you can see we are up by 30.83%, and we're trading at $1.1 billion. So in the earlier hours of the morning today, as you can see, we were trading at 0.5503. Now we have come down by just under 1 cent, and you can see over here this little dive that we've taken to. On the 7-day chart, we are down by 9.28%, and so we're just under that 10% mark. I mean, if you have a look over here, on the 12th of January, we were at 59 cents, and so to where we are right now, we have just come down by under 5 cents, which is a pretty big move for XRP coin. We don't usually lose that much on the price so fast. On the 1 month chart, we are down by 10.58%. I mean, we did make a pretty nice comeback, as you can see, as we went to a low here at 0.5575. We did actually go to the upside to 0.6155. That seemed like as if we were going to potentially head to that 63-cent mark. However, we didn't, and we actually came back down to 0.567, so that was pretty much a 5-cent drop. Now we have dropped again from 0.5857 to 0.5424, so we have lost 4 cents. But we could potentially be seeing the 52-cent mark. But if we do actually see that, we could potentially go even lower and below that 50-cent level. I mean, if you have a look back in October, we could actually be trading at those prices again, and this is because of the fact that we've actually broken that 55-cent price target. However, if XRP coin is able to remain strong and get back up to that 56-cent mark at least just in the next 1 to 2 days, then we should be able to see some more momentum upwards to 58 cents and actually just hover over there for some time. Guys, if you want daily Ripple XRP coin news, subscribe to the channel and like the video as well.